We are delighted to introduce Professor Manish Singhal, a distinguished academic and practitioner in the field of organization behavior, with a robust background encompassing a BE in mechanical engineering and PGDM in finance and PhD in behavioral sciences from IIM Calcutta. He has been a cornerstone of XLRI, Xavier's School of Management, Jamshedpur since April 2006. Extensive expertise and scholarly contributions make him a leading figure in understanding and shaping organizational dynamics. Professor Singhal's academic journey includes a notable publication, Spiritually at Work, a study of Indian non-profit organization, and a significant presentation of his doctoral research at international conferences. His tenure as a visiting faculty member at the Indian Institute of Business, Hyderabad, further underscores his broad influence in academia. His unique career includes 6 years as a non-salaried missionary at Vivekananda Kendra, where he led pioneering anthropological research projects in Arunachal Pradesh and Assam. His projects produced influential publications on tribal religions and indigenous healing traditions. At XLRI, he excels in teaching and guiding PhD students on topics like leadership emergence and moral leadership. He has also successfully led numerous executive education programs enhancing managerial effectiveness and leadership skills across various industries. His role as a joint secretary of the Indian Yoga Association Jharkhand chapter amplifies his commitment to integrating Indian culture heritage with modern leadership practices. His diverse experience and profound insights into human behavior and organizational effectiveness make him an invaluable asset to the academic and professional community. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Manish Singhal.
Most welcome, brother, to your own family, and on this special occasion of International Day of Peace. We'll be very happy to listen Professor Manish Singhal on ancient wisdom on holistic health and well-being, balancing mind, body, and spirit. Over to you. Next 13 minutes are yours. Most welcome.
What a pleasure it is. What a pleasure it is, Dr. Tomar. And when I received this particular invitation to speak on ancient wisdom on holistic health and well-being, my thoughts went back to WHO, the World Health Organization, and which talks about health. And even though we usually talk about it only as physical health, but if we go back to WHO back in 1948, in its constitution, it talks about health is the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And I thought that probably over a period of time, we might have lost sight of that particular definition. Because if we go to the typical way in which we think of health, it is largely about what is happening to the body. But given the rise of the psychosomatic disorders in modern society, much of it is our own doing, we are probably forgetting the aspect of the psyche of it, the psychosomatic part. And therefore, diseases which are generated at the level of the mind, but then manifest themselves in our body. And I thought that we probably need to go back in time, given that we have to talk about ancient wisdom. So what does ancient wisdom say? And if we go back to Taittiriya Upanishad from the Indian lore, okay, so the Taittiriya Upanishad, there is this particular disciple who goes back to his father and he asks him as to, "Father, who am I?" And the father, instead of giving very direct answers, because that is not the way in which we kind of approach or arrive at knowledge, asks him as to, "What do you think it is? What do you say?" So the disciple kind of responds to him and he says that usually when is it that I get to know that someone is coming? When I can see that person, right? Or when I can hear that person or something like that. And therefore he says that probably it is the annamaya kosha, the physical body, the physical sheath that the person is. And therefore this is the outermost sheath, which is the physical body, nourished by food. And because it is nourished by food, anna, this particular kosha focuses upon the body's physiological and anatomical aspects. So if you go back to WHO, it is also talking about physical well-being as being the absence of disease and optimal physical function. So this is something that we need to bear in mind. And then from there, when we go further, we are going, so this child comes back and then says that this is who I am. So the guru says that, okay, you are going in the right direction. Could you go further? So the guy goes back. The guy goes back, sits under that banyan tree or whatever. And then after a while, he comes back and he tells his guru, and he thinks to himself. And what he says is that usually when a person dies, the body is still there, but we do not really see that person there, right? And therefore, in Hindi, there's a phrase which says, "Uske pran pakheru ud gaye." So prana, so the bird of prana has escaped the body. And therefore, he comes back and he says that probably it is the prana, the energy body, which is what is who I am. Because when that is not there, then obviously it is the life force has left the human body. So that energy flow, which controls vital functions like breathing, digestion, circulation, etc., all of that is a pranamaya kosha. So if we go back to the WHO definition, it does not directly talk about the energy aspect, but indirectly supports it when it talks about the overall well-being, which is tied to vitality. So this pranamaya kosha is also known as the vital sheath. So the child comes back, tells his guru that this is what it is, and then the guru says that you're going on the right path, could you go further? Once again, the boy goes back, he meditates some more, and then what he finds is that typically my breath is also not even, is also not uniform, and it varies. At times when I'm angry, it is very, very fast, and whenever it is that I'm sad, it is very shallow. And therefore, what is it which is controlling this vital sheath? So the insight that the child arrives at, the student arrives at, so he says that maybe it is my mind, the emotional, the mental sheath, the body that I have. So probably that is the idea which is governing my thoughts, emotions, subconscious, etc. So how is it that the individual is responding to the environment? Right? I hope you are still with me. So we started with the Annamaya Kosh, which is the physical body. Why the physical body is there, but the person has gone. So maybe the vital, the life force has gone. Now, what is controlling this life force, the vital force that we have inside? So maybe it is the Manomaya Kosh, right? So it is this part here. So even the WHO definition lays a great store by mental health, which is about your emotional stability, your cognitive health, and your psychological resilience, etc. So this is something which probably is paramount. Now, the student obviously has come back to the teacher, has come back to the guru and says that maybe that is the mind which is why. Remember cogito ergo sum, which comes to us from Western philosophy, and therefore I think, therefore I am. So now, obviously you will realize that our ancient wisdom goes much further. So he goes to the guru and says that it is the mind who I am. So the guru says, so you are on the right path, but could you go still further? So the guy goes further and then he thinks about it and he says, so what is the characteristic of the mind? So the characteristic of the mind is likes and dislikes, right? If I like something, that probably makes me happy. So I think if I dislike something and it comes to me, it probably makes me unhappy. Okay. So now, given that these are the characteristics, these are the indicators of the kind of workings of the mind. So he says, but haven't my likes and dislikes also changed over a period of time? I might have liked some toys at one point of time, and today probably I like different toys. Okay, so I like a different set of toy or whatever. So how do these likes and dislikes change? And this is where the disciple comes across the next insight. What he says is, so my likes and dislikes would also depend upon my intellect, my wisdom, my discriminating faculty. So which is what is governing my decision making, deeper insight and understanding. So lo and behold, the disciple has come to the fourth kosha, which is that of Vijnanamaya kosha. So remember, if we are looking at the definition of WHO, which I started my talk with, there also we are talking about the social well-being. So how does that kind of make a difference? Am I making a healthy decision? Do I have the intellectual clarity, which will lead to better social interactions? Fair enough? Okay, so that is the fourth aspect of it. So now, so maybe it is my understanding, it is my wisdom, it is my intellect. That is what the disciple tells his guru. So the guru says that, okay, you are on the right path, but maybe you still have some milestones to cover, etc. So this guy now goes back. This guy goes back and then he reflects upon that some more once again. Okay, so he says that what is the objective of all of this intellect that I'm bringing to the table? All of this wisdom that I'm using, what am I using it for? And he comes to the next level of insight where he says that maybe this intellect, all of it, whether it was my childhood, whether it is my youth, whether it is my old age, whenever it is, so what is all of this prompting me towards? So all of this probably is pointing me towards Ananda. Think about it. Why do I want a particular toy now? Because I feel that maybe if I possess this toy, or if I come away from this unpleasant situation, feeling, or whatever, I will probably be happier. Fair enough? Okay? And not just happier, because this happiness and happiness is outside in. Instead of that, is there something that I can think of on my own? So, this is the idea of bliss. So the Anandamaya kosha, which is probably the deeper aspect of who we are, so it is the state of pure bliss, joy, spiritual fulfillment. So that which will probably fulfill us beyond the material and mental realms. So it is the experience. It is the experience of that particular self. Okay, so the WHO definition, if you look at the health part, it doesn't really explicitly mention spiritual or blissful, but it can be considered as a part of the individual's overall state of well-being. So we started with the Annamaya kosha, the physical body. We moved from there to the vital sheath, which is the Pranamaya kosha. We moved from there to the mental, okay, the Manomaya kosha, the mental, the cognitive, the emotional, etc. And then from there we came to the Vijnanmaya kosha, which is that of intellect or wisdom or deeper clarity, etc. And from there we have come to the fifth one here, which is that of the Anandamaya kosha, the sheath of bliss. Now the argument here is that probably we need to ask WHO to probably expand this particular definition of health that they gave us way back in 1948 to include the spiritual aspect as well, because there is only so much that we can get by looking at the physical, which is why if you look at the recent COVID pandemic that we had, over there also the people became much more conscious about the state of mental well-being. While my context may probably be good and I may probably be pretty satisfied with that, but unless and until this mental equilibrium I am able to maintain within myself, will I be able to kind of do justice to the ask that is there from me. Okay, so from the physical well-being to the mental to the social, now that particular social aspect also is probably undergirded by the spiritual, by the Atma. And when we come to this, who am I? So the tale goes that when this particular disciple now no longer comes back to the Guru for the validation. What is the idea? So we are looking at, so even if I am experiencing that particular bliss, that particular body, the sheath that I have, who is doing the experiencing? Make sense? Make sense? Okay, so who is doing the experiencing? And therefore, who you are is probably the one who is experiencing all this. Look at it in your own life, right? Look at it in your own life. Can you imagine yourself wherever it is that you're sitting or standing? Could you just close your eyes for a while? Okay, close your eyes for a while. And could you imagine yourself sitting on the same seat or standing in the same place 6 months ago? I'm sure all of us are able to visualize that. Even if you're in a new place, maybe you could take yourself back to wherever you were 6 months ago. Okay, fair enough. Now let us go back 5 years in time. Where did you see yourself? Where did you find yourself? 10 years ago? A different place, a different location maybe, a different period of time. Or probably your last job. Second last now. So go back in time another 20 years, another 30 years, depending upon how old you are. Okay. So now try to go back to the earliest memory that you have from this life. Maybe you may be thinking about your family, you may be thinking about your school, or maybe a particular landmark memory that you have. Now, do you see that the person who was sitting in this chair 6 months ago, the person who was in a different place 6 months ago, the place that you were in 10 years ago, does the sense of I change? I may be sporting mustache today. There was a time when I didn't have a mustache, right? I may be wearing a pair of spectacles today. Chances are that 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years ago, I was not wearing that spectacle. My hair may be turning white. Maybe they were black at one point of time. I may have lost a limb or the other, or maybe I've had a prosthetic attached to my body. I may be finding some things pleasant today. They may have been unpleasant earlier, or vice versa. There may be a particular ideology that I believe in today. I might have been vehemently opposed to that 20 years ago. The objects that give me happiness today were probably not the ones which gave me happiness earlier, or the other way around. Do I see a sense of connection between all of these experiences? And therefore, this particular sutra, this particular thread, this particular connection is probably who I actually am. So once we are able to connect to that, you will probably realize that the changing circumstances around you, the changing features of the body, the changing perturbations of the mind, whether be they positive or negative, the confusion or the clarity that you feel is probably not who you are. And therefore, what we need to be looking at when we talk about health is come back to the phrase that we have in India for it, which is that of swasthya. Swasthya, not health. Okay, swasthya. So what is swasthya? Swaha sthita. Are you established in yourself? Are you established in yourself? Please think about it. So when anyone who has suffered from a toothache will probably remember that you can't really think of anything else at that point of time because all your attention is captured by that particular pain that you have. Fair enough? And therefore, when you are physically healthy, it means that the physical body is not demanding your attention. Whereas for all of us who are thinking all the time, all our attention is going to the thought level, which is the thought or emotions, etc. Chances are we are not really healthy at the mental level. Okay, and you can expand that. My time is coming to a close, but I'm sure you'll be able to extend this. And therefore, swasthya is when you are established in your being, the doing or the having is not really consuming your attention. And therefore, when is it that you are healthy? When you are established in yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Manishi. It is so enlightening. And you very rightly quoted the three Upanishad. You took us throughout our journey, decades after decades. You made us see that what we see aging, what we see changing, what we see, all the dynamics of life is not me. And the moment I'm situated, I'm established beyond this dynamism, sahasansarati, then I am absolutely swastha. And you rightly started with the definition of WHO, and you recommended WHO to extend this definition to spiritual dimensions also. It is very profound. I think it has benefited me and everybody who is listening to us. Thank you very much, Manishi. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure.
On behalf of United Consciousness, I thank Mr. Manish Singhal for coming onto the platform of United Consciousness. Thank you so much.